Welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive. This time, we're going to be talking about something I think we all struggle with, at least a little bit, letting go of the past.
Okay.
It's not just about New Year's resolutions and stuff.
Yeah.
We're going way deeper than that today. We're going to be exploring how quantum physics and neuroscience can actually help us break free from the past. And we've got some really cool source material to help us out today. It blends some pretty cutting-edge science with practical techniques like, EFT, emotional freedom techniques,
hmm
and this wild concept called hacking reality.
Now, I want to ask you, have you ever felt held back by something that happened in the past?
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
a memory or a regret or
Yeah.
something? I think it's something that's pretty common, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, thankfully, we've got our expert here today to unpack all of this for us. They can break down the science and the tools that can help us actually move forward.
Mm.
So, one of the biggest mind-blowing ideas from our sources is that the past isn't necessarily as fixed as we think it is. It's not set in stone. It's more like wet cement.
Yeah, wet cement, still capable of being shaped. And get this, our present focus, what we're thinking about right now, can actually influence how we experience our past.
That's right. Our source material really challenges our everyday ideas about time. Like we think of time as this straight line. The past is over, the future hasn't happened yet. But quantum physics suggests that reality is a lot more fluid than that.
Okay, so how does quantum physics even play into all of this? I mean, it sounds pretty complicated. Our source material talks about the double slit experiment. Can you explain what that is? And what does it even mean for, understanding our past?
Okay, so imagine you have a light and you shine it through two little tiny slits.
Okay, yeah.
You'd think you'd see two bright lines on the other side, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, in the double slit experiment, what happens is much weirder than that. When you send single particles of light photons through the slits, they don't just go through one or the other. They act like they're going through both slits at the same time, and then that creates an interference pattern on the other side.
Whoa, hold on. So the light is in two places at once.
Kinda. In quantum mechanics, it's called superposition. Basically, it means that a particle, like a photon, can be in multiple states at the same time. It has the potential to be in either slit. But here's the really crazy part. When scientists try to observe which slit the light goes through, it's like it forces the light to choose one path.
So our observation actually changes what the light does.
Exactly. It's like our observation in the present can affect how the particle behaved in the past.
Whoa, okay, so it's not just about letting go of the past, but our present actions and our thoughts can actually change the past.
Well, that's what some physicists think. It's definitely still being debated.
Mhm.
But you can see how it challenges our everyday understanding of like cause and effect and time moving in one direction.
Definitely. And our source material even takes it one step further, right? They talk about this concept of the quantum eraser.
Right. So imagine you take a picture of the light particle going through one specific slit. It's like you've fixed its past, right?
Hmm.
You have the evidence. But with a quantum eraser, you can actually erase that information. So it's like that observation never happened, like hitting rewind on the past.
Wow, my mind is officially blown. So how does all of this quantum stuff relate to us? To letting go of our pasts?
It's a great question. So think of it like this. If even the past of a tiny particle of light isn't set in stone, then what does that mean for our memories and the stories we tell ourselves about what happened?
They could be fluid too.
Exactly. Just like watching that light particle changes its behavior, our focus on certain memories, especially negative ones, could be reinforcing those patterns in our minds, making them more real, more present.
So if we just keep replaying a painful memory over and over again, we're making it stronger.
Exactly. And the good news is, just like a quantum eraser, we also have the potential to change our relationship with our past by shifting our focus, rewriting the narrative.
Okay, I can see how that connects to this whole hacking reality idea that the source material talks about.
Right. And that involves understanding these principles, these weird quantum things, and using them to intentionally shift how we see reality, including our past.
So it's not about pretending the past didn't happen. It's more about changing how we see it and how we relate to it.
Exactly. It's about saying, okay, that happened. Now, how can I see this in a new light? How can I find the potential for growth in this?
I like that. Our source material dives into three key ideas for applying this to our lives: the observer effect, vibrational frequency, and parallel realities. Let's start with the observer effect since we've been talking about it.
Perfect. So as we've seen, the observer effect tells us that what we focus on shapes our reality.
Mm-hmm.
And when we apply that to the past, it means that constantly going back to those painful memories, reliving them in our minds, well, that's just giving them more power, more energy.
Our source had a great way of putting it. They said it's like we're constantly replaying an old movie, preventing any new stories from forming.
Yeah, I love that. And they actually gave a really powerful example of this, a woman named Sarah.
What happened to Sarah?
She had this experience in her childhood where she was constantly being told she wasn't good enough. And that memory had a huge impact on her, affecting her self-esteem and her confidence.
Oh, I can relate to that.
It happens to a lot of us.
Yeah.
That memory became like a core belief for her, holding her back in her life.
So how did she use the observer effect, to change her relationship with that experience?
She used EFT, the tapping technique we mentioned, and visualization to shift her focus. So instead of just replaying that memory of being told she wasn't good enough over and over, she started visualizing moments where she did feel capable. She started focusing on her successes.
So she basically rewrote the narrative, focusing on the positive instead of the negative.
Right. She chose to observe those good moments. And it's amazing how powerful that can be. The source mentioned Sarah actually ended up getting this big promotion at work, something she would have never even considered before.
Wow, that's incredible. That's like a real-life example of how powerful this can be.
It is. It shows that changing our inner reality, how we see the past, can actually have a huge impact on our outer reality, on the things that happen to us.
And that actually leads us perfectly to the next key concept, vibrational frequency.
Okay. Vibrational frequency. So this one, to be honest, has always sounded a little woo-woo to me.
Yeah, it can definitely sound that way.
But I'm willing to keep an open mind. Can you break it down for us, like in simple terms?
I'll try my best.
Mm.
So we know everything's made up of energy, right?
Right.
Well, this energy is always vibrating at different frequencies, and this includes our thoughts and emotions. Even those have a unique vibrational pattern.
Wait, so, like, my feelings have a measurable energy.
You got it. And this is where things get interesting. The source material says that when we're holding on to stuff from the past, like resentment or anger, it means we're kind of vibrating at a lower frequency.
Okay, I think I'm following so far. But how does, like, vibrating at a low frequency actually affect us? What does it even mean? Imagine a radio, right? You tune it to a specific frequency, and you pick up a certain station. Our own vibrational frequency works kind of the same way. When we're stuck in a low frequency, we tend to attract experiences that match that energy.
Oh, I see. So if I'm feeling down and negative, I'm more likely to attract like more negative experiences.
Exactly. It's like you're tuned to a radio station that only plays sad songs.
Hmm.
But when we let go of that negativity, our frequency changes. And we can tune into a station that plays, happier music.
That's a good way to put it. So what can we do to change the station?
That's where the tools and techniques from our sources come in. Remember EFT?
Yeah, the tapping thing.
Right. Tapping on those acupressure points while we focus on a negative emotion, it can actually help release the energy that's stuck there.
So it's like we're literally tapping away the bad vibes.
Kinda. And as we release those low-frequency emotions, our vibration naturally starts to rise. And then we can attract more positive experiences into our lives.
Okay, yeah, I get that. It makes a lot of sense. So EFT can help us raise our vibration, but what about other ways? Is there anything else we can do?
Oh, absolutely. Our source material also talks a lot about gratitude.
Oh yeah, gratitude. I've heard that's important.
When we focus on the good things in our lives, even the little things, it naturally shifts our energy in a more positive direction.
Like attracts like, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's all about consciously choosing to focus on thoughts and experiences that vibrate at a higher frequency.
I love that. I've always had a hard time with the idea of letting go of the past. Like I was being told to forget stuff that happened or that it wasn't important.
Yeah, I get that.
But what you're saying is that it's not about forgetting. It's more about like changing how we relate to those experiences, like taking away the power they have over us.
Exactly. Acknowledging the past, but choosing to focus on creating a brighter future.
Okay, so we've covered observer effect, vibrational frequency, and now for the big one, parallel realities. This is where things start to get really trippy for me.
It definitely requires stretching our imagination a bit. But the basic idea is that there are tons of possible realities, all existing at the same time.
Oh.
And every decision we make, every thought we have, creates a split in the timeline. Like it branches off into a new reality.
Hold on. You're saying there are like a million versions of me out there living out every possible choice I could have made.
It's kind of like a choose-your-own-adventure book with infinite options. But don't get too carried away. It's not like we can jump between these realities whenever we want.
Okay, that's good to know. I wouldn't want to accidentally end up in a reality where I made, like, really bad choices.
Right. The point is that reality is way more fluid than we think.
Mhm.
We're not stuck on one single path.
Got it. So how does this whole parallel realities thing relate to, letting go of the past?
So when we're holding on to past hurts or regrets, it's like we're anchoring ourselves to one specific reality. The reality that resonates with that low vibration we talked about. But when we let go of that stuff, when we release those negative emotions, it opens us up to the possibility of shifting into a different reality, one that's a better match for who we truly are and what we want.
Wait, so you're saying we can actually, like, shift our reality by changing our thoughts and feelings?
Exactly. And the source material gives a great example of this with a guy named Mark.
What happened with Mark?
So Mark had this really tough experience where he was betrayed by a close friend. He was carrying around a lot of anger and resentment, and it was really affecting him.
That's rough. I can see why he'd be holding on to that. So did he, like, actually jump to a different timeline? How did he use these parallel realities to help himself?
Well, he didn't literally jump timelines,
Yeah.
but he did use EFT and visualization to change how he saw the situation.
Yeah.
He tapped on those acupressure points while he was visualizing the moment of the betrayal.
So he was, like, intentionally trying to release those negative emotions.
Yep. And as he did that, he started to see the whole situation differently. Instead of just seeing it as this awful betrayal, he started to see how it actually led him to set healthier boundaries in his relationships.
Oh, wow. So he was able to shift from a reality of, like, pain and betrayal to one of, like, growth and stronger connections.
Exactly. And that shift actually showed up in his life in real ways. His relationships got better, and he felt a lot more positive and happy overall.
That's amazing. It really shows that, changing how we see things on the inside can actually change what happens to us on the outside.
It really highlights the incredible power we have to shape our own lives. It all comes back to letting go of the past and embracing the infinite possibilities that are out there.
Wow, we've really gone deep today, haven't we?
Yeah, we have. Quantum physics, parallel realities, all that good stuff.
It's definitely a lot to think about. I feel like my brain is doing backflips.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it can be a little mind-bending.
But in a good way, though. It's inspiring, right? Like knowing we have more control over our lives than we might think.
Totally. It's about realizing we're not just victims of circumstance. We have the power to choose how we experience reality.
So before we wrap up, I want to make sure our listeners walk away with, like, some solid takeaways. What are the key things you'd want people to remember from all of this?
All right, well, let's recap those 3 key ideas from our source material.
Okay, sounds good.
The first one, remember, is the observer effect. What we focus on expands. Dwelling on the past just gives it more power, more energy. But if we shift our attention to the present moment, to the things we want to create, that's what's going to grow.
It's like choosing to focus on the good stuff, right? Instead of getting bogged down by the bad.
Exactly. And the second key idea is vibrational frequency. The source material emphasizes that our thoughts and emotions have a vibrational energy, and that energy attracts similar experiences. So if we're stuck in negativity, we're going to keep attracting more of that. But if we can release those negative emotions, raise our vibration, then we open ourselves up to a whole new reality, a more positive and fulfilling one.
It's like tuning into a different radio station, one that plays only good vibes.
Right. And then the third key idea, parallel realities. I know, sounds kind of out there, but what it boils down to is we're not stuck on just one path. We have the power to choose a different timeline, a different reality, one that's more aligned with who we truly are and what we want. And that happens when we let go of the past. We release those negative emotions, those limiting beliefs, and bam, a whole new world of possibilities opens up.
I love that. What I really appreciate about all this is that it doesn't put pressure on us to have it all figured out. Like, it's okay to not be perfect, to make mistakes, to have regret.
Oh, absolutely. We're all on a journey, right? And that journey is going to have its ups and downs. It's all part of the process.
Exactly. It's like maybe those detours, those unexpected turns are actually where the real magic happens. They lead us to where we're supposed to be.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's in those moments of uncertainty, those times when we step outside of our comfort zones, that we really discover who we are.
I'm walking away from this conversation feeling really inspired, like anything is possible.
That's what it's all about. And I hope our listeners are feeling that too.
Any last words of wisdom or encouragement for everyone out there?
I just encourage everyone to really explore these ideas. Dive into the source material. See what resonates with you. There's a lot of wisdom out there. And remember, you have the power to create a life you love. It starts with letting go of the past and embracing all the amazing possibilities that are waiting for you in the future.
That's beautiful. Thanks so much for joining us for this deep dive into letting go of the past. It's been a real journey.
It has. Thanks for having me.
And to all our listeners, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you on the next deep dive.